Hey there, this is Malorian, and this is going to be a Paintisode. So my voice is kind of back. I'm guessing it's going to not last too long, so I'm going to see how this goes. Hopefully I don't lose connection 3 times like I did last week, and I am starting later than normal. Unfortunately, I had other commitments. I am If you guys aren't in the States or anything, you might not know what this is, but we have this Scouts Canada, which is really just supposed to get kids used to outdoors and stuff like that. And I'm a leader for that. So we just had a meeting, had to go, just got back. And what are we doing today? Today we're doing a Paintisode. And what we do for that is you don't need to watch. Go grab whatever you want to paint and then just listen in, really, while I randomly paint my stuff and talk about things. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them up, and I'll do my best to answer them. As for myself, what am I painting today? Man, I can already feel it going already. I'm in like 1 minute. But I am painting Circle. Now, this is my old stalker, the metal one, and this is my plastic one. And I want to have two. So I'm going to be painting that guy up. They're actually looking almost exactly the same pose. But yeah, should be. I mean, as you can see there, I've already done most of the colors. So it shouldn't be too hard to get the rest done. I am also going to be drinking this. For those who watched my battle reports, you'd have seen that I went to a tournament just this last Saturday here, and I won first place. Unfortunately, no trophy, but they gave out beer. Oh, it's a little bit stalling there. And it's disgusting. Me and the wife had one the previous night here, and they're pretty gross. This one here is called Muskoka. It's called Mad Tom IPA. Yeah, it's not good, but it'll be something to wet my throat. Hopefully I won't sound too raspy by the end. Yeah. So there are some things I want to talk about. Some stuff from Fantasy, some stuff from War Machine, and I also randomly invited like 3 people to this, so we'll see if any of them show up. I didn't tell them anything about it beforehand, so I wouldn't expect them to, but if they do, it'll be great. So we'll see what happens. But with part of that, so I did say my goodbyes to Fantasy and, all the rest of it, but I do still keep my eye on it just to see what's going on. And I'm not really liking what I'm seeing. Really what it comes down to is that they're doing this whole end times thing right now, right? And at first they had a book come out where the undead came together. So basically Nagash comes back from being destroyed, and what he does is say, hey, I'm going to be taking control now, raises up all the undead, and brings the factions together and all that good stuff. Well, really, fluff aside, the vampire counts were, see if I can save this. Nope, screwed. Sometimes when you paint over and get other stuff, you are able to kind of save it, but was not the case here. And actually, now while I'm talking about this, I just realized I didn't set this up to see comments, so I'm going to quickly set that up too. But really what I was going to say there is that they joined together the skeletons of both types. So whether you're Tomb Kings or Vampire Counts, you can now work together. And from a little bit of idea there, that's great, because the Tomb Kings are a little bit lackluster. Vampire Counts could do their thing, but they're kind of limited. Well, if you put them together, that's great, right? Because all of a sudden you have an army that kind of works together, and it's good times. I like your fish from KellerTube. Already a comment. Why, thank you. People have asked to see them in the past. The water has always been so crappy that I didn't want to show anything. But now the wife did a lot of work to make it so it's all nice and clear again. But there really is nothing fancy there. It's all just goldfish. We got some frogs in there now, but they're fish. It's surprising how much people like to watch the fish. But to get back to what I was saying, I thought that was good. The first book for the end times, I liked. Some of the implications of some of the special rules I was definitely concerned about, but I thought overall, good job, GW. This is the way to go. Then they did their next book. And in the next book, they said, hey, let's go combine all the chaos stuffs. Now, Beastmen, the Warriors of Chaos, Demons of Chaos, you can join all that stuff together. Now, there's two sides I have to looking at this. First of all, the negative side, that, you know what, that the regular Warriors of Chaos were already really strong, and they didn't need any more options, right? It's debatable what you would actually want to add to them that would make them stronger, but I mean, hey, if you want to add in some cheaper chariots from the Beastmen, adding in a Doom Bull is never a bad thing, right? And but really, what it comes down to is, whereas the last book, like I said, the Undead, you're really combining these weaker ones that really just made everything better overall. Now you're taking these stronger ones and combining them, and it's not really having that same feel anymore. So, I mean, sure, they're still adding stuff together and changing things, but it really is not, there's no pretense where, oh, we're just trying to increase the balance across the game. There's just no way that could be their actual objective. So what you get to is then the other part. Well, the chaos used to be combined. So, okay, they're just trying to get that back to the way it was. But really, what I think this all is now, and I mean, we're going to see it again with the elves as well, is that this is just their way of bringing in allies. And I did not want to see allies whatsoever. I saw what it did to 40K, and man, right now, I mean, this isn't really like the sky is falling, because it's really controlled at this point, but there's a lot of potential that if they are trying to get this started, you know, and these end time books get you used to the idea of allies, so that in ninth, when it's just full out allies, you're more used to it. I really hope they're not going that way. See if we seems like we had that one viewer who talked about my fish, then he left. We'll see if there's anything else here right now. And let's see. Yeah, just a comment about my fish. So another thing I noticed too is a lot of explosion of emotion on the group there as well. It really came about with this talk about cheating and all the rest of it, and that coming from talking about Blue Table Gaming and the mess ups there. Well, now that my voice is coming back, I can actually do some videos on that. But it seems that that spark has really started setting up the YouTubers to be voicing their opinions, which is good. You know, that's what they should be doing. It's what, hey, it's what everybody uses the internet for, right? Is to voice their opinions. But some people are getting actually pretty emotional about it. Lord Tremendous did a rant a little while ago, and like, he actually calls it a rant, right? I'm not trying to say like, oh yeah, he was just ranting on. And he gives his opinions there. And his opinions really pissed off Once Bitten. Like, I can't remember of another time where Once Bitten was so bothered by something like that, and really had to come back and do a reply to him. And you know, it's just in one way, it's a little bit bad, because you don't want to see the community fighting each other, but at the same time, it's good to see this interaction happening, right? If everybody is in their own silo and doing their own thing, I mean, to put it frankly, it's probably a little bit boring. Once you start getting this interaction between the different channels, it's a lot better. Now, I'm going to say unfortunately, but Lord Tremendous then did another video where he basically just more respectfully says what he had stated already before. But I was actually really hoping to see a video of him and Once Bitten at the same time, you know, talking this out. And I think that's what you really need to start seeing happening. I'd like to start be doing that more on the War Machine side here, I already had the Welsh team captain, and had the video with him. But there's a lot of other guys I know, right? Like Codex Dan, he's local. I can start talking to him. If assuming he wants to talk to people like me, and then once I'm talking to him, maybe I can sneak in into something else, right? Like maybe when he's doing his Google Hangouts with Wargamer Girl or something, maybe I could be part of that. I mean, right now I really am like the small fish, really, really small fish when it comes to fantasy, to War Machine. But that's the direction I want to go, right? Now, one of the things that's going to really help that is going to these larger events. And one of the first events that I see that's coming up here is the lock and load, that they say that right away here in the start of the year is where you have to sign up for it. And I'm really looking forward to that. You go to these things, there's lots and lots of events all the time. So, it's like over 3 days and multiple tournaments with multiple formats. And really, it's just go, go, go. And I mean, if you are in the dumps because you just lost a game or lost a tournament, well, that's no big deal because your next one's just about to start. And, that's where you're going to start meeting all the other people in the community. One of the things that they have for War Machine that would probably be nice if was more of a thing for fantasy is on Facebook, they have specific pages for the different armies where you're discussing lists and tactics and stuff. I mean, I'm sure there's some Facebook pages out there for Orcs and Goblins or whatever have you, but it seems that they're more established here for the War Machine ones, where there's these singular ones where people go to. Okay. Buddy Langer Ryan, also known as Ransom, saying, you don't play Warhammer anymore. Talk about War Machine. Sure, we're going to talk about War Machine. So at this tournament, which I won, hooray, I do feel I really dodged a bullet. And that's because one of the other guys who was undefeated was running the Sorcerer list. And this is this Oceans 13 or whatever silly name they gave it, which is really just taking all the shooty things. You go up, you freeze the army with the feet, and then you just shoot everything down, spray everything down. And then also you have Irish there as well to shoot the caster and shut them down for next turn too. And that is huge. And it's really hard to deal with. And in my list, I didn't really know how, as a Signar player, I should deal with that. Now, since Sorsha needs to have line of sight to actually affect her feet on you, one tactic I could use is I could go with my Haley list with all my jam and just go with layers. Like instead of spacing out, really come at him in lines. And with those lines, really make it so that, okay, this front line you can freeze, but then past that, you won't be able to see anything. So I can try and mitigate it this way. However, if I do that, he freezes the front line and the back line is stuck. So that, again, doesn't really work well. I could, with my Haley, try and catch her first, right? Because if I get the first time, so I go up there and I pop my feet, I can trap you far away. And if I got first and got into a zone, sure, you can pop your feet and shoot at me and stuff, but you're still out of the zones and I could be going for scenario. Again, I don't think that's really overly reliable, and I'm going to take lots of losses, and I don't know if I can really follow that up to get the win. So my other list was my siege list, and the plan there, had we been matched up, was to really block line of sight to the caster and then other key models like my Black 13. So what I do is have my storm wall. The storm wall would then shoot a pod actually fairly close beside it, and then Ryan can shoot that pod and make a cloud. And between the large base of the storm wall and that cloud, he won't have line of sight to freeze my caster and stuff like that. Now, he does have the ability to get really far up there and get into my cloud and then freeze me, but the rest of the army can't see me. So that doesn't really matter. It's not like you can really assassinate me. Regular Iris can't shoot me to do her thing. So really, it'd be a very good tactic for keeping my key pieces alive. But again, I didn't like that tactic because it wouldn't keep enough alive. Sure, I mean, after the feat, I'd have all those things left, but he would then be freezing and destroying pretty much everything else. So again, it's just, really, really tough one to deal with. I know before when I was running double storm wall, that was easy, right? 2 storm walls, they can't be made stationary. I'm hiding behind. And it's, I mean, sure, you can pop your feet to get my 1 unit or whatever, but it's not really that big. And I mean, you won't see them then, right? Instead of dropping Sorsha, that's when they're going to drop Butcher 3 or something. And that's where you get your list chicken. And then because you think they'll drop Butcher 3, now I don't need to do the double storm wall anymore. So it's one of those fun parts of War Machine where you have that chicken dance before where it's like, okay, are you going to be doing that list? Are you going to do this? You're trying to second guess what they're going to do, trying to balance all your odds. That's going to be another video I plan to doing here as well, is this one talking about list, picking your list, right? So when you get to the point you're at the start of the game, and whether it's a 2-list format or a 3-list format, deciding which one you should go for that match. Because really, people do lose the game right there, right? They pick a list and like, yeah, let's just go with this. And they don't realize too late that, wow, they just picked the wrong one because, say, in the one matchup, it's a horrendous matchup. And in the other case, it's just not that good, or maybe it's even. So really you should have gone with the other list so that they're both even. It's really situation dependent, but it's definitely a good thing to keep your mind on. And especially when you get to Masters where there's 3 lists, there's a lot of things you need to keep in mind. Because if you don't, you are just going to get yourself in trouble. Unless you never know when that thing's going to happen where you're just kind of blindly picking a list and the other guy's guessing, like, okay, he's going to think I'm going to do this, and so I'm going to do this, and basically overthinking the situation. So far we're looking pretty good on this. Getting on the feet and the silver here and on the 1 arm. It's neat how big of a difference that makes. I mean, I still have a lot more to do, but I mean, look at this arm where basically I just do green for the armor, and then you do that silver trim, and it just pops just like that. Clean the brush. Buddy Langer saying that the Facebook pages are pretty sketchy for War Machine. They're like any forum where whatever you say, like, oh, I want how about this? And if you are going with what's kind of the accepted internet, this is the best thing, they'll rip you apart. There is still use to it because, hey, there's still people out there that will give good advice. For example, me, I'll go on there for the Signar forum and I'll see if somebody has an interesting idea. I'll say, like, yeah, I mean, that could work for this. And I mean, one of the worst things you see on the forum is people write down a list and they're like, oh, that's stupid. You should have done this and this and this. And they don't even ask what the list is for. They don't realize that, oh, this thing that you're worried about isn't big in my meta. This thing that you're not thinking about is big in my meta. Or maybe the list not understand how your list is supposed to work. So that's usually the first thing I'll ask is, okay, what is this meant to do? But yeah, you do get those other people that just spout out, rhetoric. Rafael Mash saying, yay, Circle's being painted. Does it mean you'll be playing Circle for some time? Yes and no. I am still doing the big Signar push, so don't expect me to be like, yeah, I'm going Circle 2015. However, I will be getting a couple of games in. One thing you're going to start noticing I'm going to do is that whenever I do a caster review, I'm going to make sure to do a game with them as well so that I can talk about them and then I can show them in action. So I have a game arranged for Wednesday. I'm going to take Kaya. So got my list all set up for that. Of course, double stalker will be in there. What's the full list? It's Kaya with Getorix, 2 stalkers, Pure Blood, Gorax, Max Unit of Posse, which is going to have Occultation, so they're going to be awesome. Then I'm going to have my Gallows Grove. I have a Feral Geist, and then I also have the Bellower crew. So the Bellower crew can make out their cloud. That means the stalkers can go prowl, and they'll have stealth. The Gallows Grove will have stealth. The Posse will have stealth, and hopefully I can be alpha striking, hitting main targets, using my spells to pull them back in, and should be interesting. It's been a while since I played Circle, so we'll see just how rusty I'm going to be. But I don't know. I mean, the biggest thing is if I get to a point where I'm getting a lot more games, then the idea where I can do a little bit more stuff for fun can happen a lot more. I do really like my Circle. I miss my Circle, especially since recently recently being in the last year, gotten some of the pieces I've been really waiting for, say like Megalith and a template for a stone wall and stuff, because I really want to do Epic Balder, but then I've been really focusing on Signar. Now, just because I won one event doesn't mean that I can just relax now. I need to now show that I can be consistent. However, at the same time, like I say, if I have enough games so that I can both practice for tournaments and have fun, that'd be great. And I think that should be possible. Buddy Langer, he lives right by. I can get games with him whenever he's not working. I have another guy close by, another Signar guy that likes getting games in. Every Saturday, there's another guy close by that wants to run events, so I can go to those. And I think it's a thing where if I'm getting in more than one gaming night a week, I'll probably make one of those something a little bit more fun. Whether I'm taking a different faction or whether I'm just taking a random caster, like, okay, today I'm doing Constance, right? I'll just use that to kind of change things up. And it's one of those things where I don't want the game to get overly stagnant either. I mean, I know talking to the Team Canada captain, he was saying that basically from him playing Trolls all of last year, it basically just killed it for him. And that's why this year he just wants to relax and just play whatever he wants. Because really, when he did that and say, okay, it's just Trolls all the time, it just it killed it for him, like I said. So either way, we'll see how that goes. My Kaya is probably going to be facing Signar, because that's the Signar guy I was talking about. I've already warned him that I'll be doing Circle, so I don't know if that's going to change his list at all or what he's going to do for that. He has been the guy that's been trying to do the Dynamo and all that stuff. I don't think Dynamo would be a good choice against this list because a lot of the key things are stealthed. But hey, they'll still do very well in combat as well. Since Dynamo gets that extra strength even right on the first hit. If you have Victor Pendrake or something to make sure he's actually hitting, he's gonna kill some beasts. Again, if you want me to be talking about anything in specific, go ahead and post it there on the side. We can talk about how Buddy Langer is a chicken and didn't want to go to the tournament. No, it's rough. I mean, I did the same thing where you're working on shift, and it really just limits you, right? It's always, is there a tournament? Okay, flip a coin to see if I'm working that weekend. And it's frustrating because sometimes in a row, it'll be like, okay, there's 5 events in a row I just can't go to because this happens to be on the time where I'm scheduled to be working. So really glad not to be in that situation anymore. Doesn't stop me from picking on others who are in that situation, but this is coming along very well. How are we doing for time? We're about halfway through already. Oh no. Oh no. I thought we were doing well until I saw how much time I already used up. Although really doing this here, this little silver armor trim, really is going to be the slow step. And I've almost done it all now. Now I've done both arms. Now I just really have to do the head and the sword and then start getting some of the smaller details. So I should be able to still be done this pretty close to finishing within the hour. But if I can't, whatever. At least it'll be close enough. And that's going to be part of my show when I do the video talking about speed painting. It's just that understanding where, you know, you can look at a model like this and see like, oh no, I didn't do the stones on his chain. But when he's on the table far away, you don't see that stuff. You know, the very fact that, okay, armor is green, skin is brown, sword is silver, that's the stuff you really only see. But there are some crazy painters out there. At the tournament there, of course, they had everybody set out their stuff, and you could go around and vote for who you think is going to win. And it was really obvious. We have this local player, has this beautiful looking Scorn army. He had painted up epic Xerxes, and I think he could have just had out that one model because it was amazing. I mean, that's the type of level of painting I'm just never going to be at. And I can only guess how long that took him as well, you know, to get all that shading in and make everything right. You know, you don't do that on an hour-long Paintisode. You know, that's something you do over, you know, days or months, slowly planning it out and making it perfect. And I have too many unpainted models to do that, you know. Not only do I not have the skills to do that myself, I just don't have the time. As well, from that tournament, from winning, I also got a gift card, so I got to get some more stuff, and I'm already regretting what I got. What I got with it was a second unit of Forge Guard, and also the newer box of the Boom Howlers. I did have the Boom Howlers before, but only, you know, those are old box, so they're only a min unit, and they weren't painted or anything, so I don't really care about them. I'll probably just actually in one of my future tournaments just throw them in as a prize or something, or something. We'll see what I do with it. But definitely with me doing my Jam Army, you'd think I'd be using Boom Howlers, but I haven't been just because I didn't have the max unit. So it'll be good to use them. I have multiple ideas for what I'm going to do with that second unit of Forge Guard. One of them is with E. Haley and changing it up so that I have that second unit to make it more combat-based. One of my other worries, I told you about how I was worried about, what's her name, Sorsha, but I'm also really worried about Bradigus. And if I was to make something that's a little bit more combat-based, I can deal with it. Now, for example, Bradigus is a really bad matchup against Crix, because Crix has all these weapon masters, and they're just going to get in there and kill all your big constructs. Well, I can build a similar list with Siege, and my feat will be perfect for that, right? Not only will I be hitting them hard, but your armor is going to be halved for that first hit. So I really think it could work. I still have to play with the list. But I told you that I was a little bit regretting already my choices, and that's because I was starting to look into some tiers. I was looking at the Pecan tier. We get unlimited gun mages. You know, for the Butcher 2 tier, we get unlimited Doom Reavers. It's like, you know what's a good counter to that? Like 10 units of gun mages. Then I got a little bit more serious, and I came up with this list where it's Pecan running a Storm Wall. Then I have 5 units of the gun mages, 1 with UA that's running 2 Sentinels, and then Black 13th. And that's a tier 4. A lot of that stuff is 1 point cheaper. I get +1 to first turn, and I think I do really well. But I have to buy 3 more units of gun mages. So now I'm kind of wishing I would have done that instead. But Couple more comments here. Buddy Langer saying, if a Legion player was across the table from you, what is your worst case scenario? So what's the thing I don't want to see in Legion as a Signar player? Well, Epic Lilith has been causing me a lot of fits. It really took me trying to say, like, okay, all I have to do is jam her, because that Lilith 2, whereas I loved Kane 2 before, she was just kind of beating me at my own game. Now that I have an answer to that, what would be the worst thing to see? Well, Veil 2, which Buddy Langer already plays, which is another assassination type one. I don't know. Right now, I feel that my Signar matches up very well against Legion. Really, probably the worst case scenario is this whenever I see Lilith 2, because Lilith 2 always threatens assassination. You just can't get away from that. You know, she's on the table, she threatens like 10 miles, and you never know when either way, like as much as you prepare for it, if she gets some big hits and some big numbers, you're dead. And it's really hard to completely 100% guard against. All right. Mathal Mash saying, don't you miss Warhammer? New End Times book is up this week. This time, all L's together. I do miss fantasy. However, I'm already starting to see the benefits and reaping the rewards of making the choice I did. Before I switched over, I just didn't really have that focus, and so I just was not doing that well at events. I was making too many mistakes, not really fully prepared for it. And now, ever since, I've gone to 3 tournaments since I dropped Warhammer Fantasy, and I've gotten 3rd, 2nd, and now 1st. So it's, I mean, maybe that's coincidence, but it's starting to turn into quite the trend. So as much as I'd love to pull up my orcs and have a game, this whole idea of focusing on the one game is definitely paying off. One of the things I know I am a little bit disappointed about was that there are some local guys here that say, oh, yeah, before you go, we need to do one big final massive game, right? And I was like, okay, cool, that'll be lots of fun. And then nothing really happened with it. So that was kind of too bad. I was kind of looking forward to doing one last, well, I don't know, I don't want to say one last, because it's not like I'm selling my orcs and goblins. I'm still going to have them for the odd, charity event or whatever. Or if all of a sudden after I make if I make my goal and get on to Team Canada, at that point I can start moving on to something else. Because, I mean, it's not like at that point I'll say, like, okay, goodbye War Machine, but it's expensive to go to these World Team events. I believe for the guys last year to go to Poland, it was $5,000 a person in expenses to go to this. And the biggest thing there is, I mean, I can't afford to be going to that every single year. If that happens every few years, okay, I think I can make that work. I can work some fundraising and stuff like that, but I can't do that year after year. So once I get in there the first time, then I can say, okay, this is a breather year. Now I can mix in something else. Okay, now this is a serious year, but we'll see. I mean, it's going to probably take me a while to get into Team Canada, right? I am pushing and hoping that I can be on the 2015 team, but I'll fully admit that that's probably a long shot, right? These other guys that are applying to be on the team, they don't just have one tournament win, they have several. So, I have to keep at it. I have to show that I'm consistent and do my part. So, yeah, in short, yeah, kind of missing fantasy. But at the same time, like I was talking about before I got redirected back to War Machine, I am not really liking some of these things. I mean, like right now with all the L's going together, I can foresee some crazy builds going on with that too. If you start looking at the monster mash you can do backed up by true shot arrows or whatever from the wood elves. I'm pretty sure you can start coming up with some pretty crazy things. And then of course you'll have your wood shells, and it's the combos. They were not designed to be combined like this. I know there's some armies where they design them with the next edition in mind or something, but right now there's no way you can tell me that high elves, dark elves, and wood elves were all designed because one day they were going to be combining them back together. There's no way. So it's just, and they're, again, all three of those are very competitive, and now they're joining together, and armies like my orcs and goblins are like, what the fuck? We're not getting to ally with anybody. You just get more options. By default, you are getting better because you have more options, and I got nothing. So I'm still a little bit pissed off about that. Buddy Langer coming back saying Lilith 2 would really tear up gun mages apart. She would. I don't know if she could tear 60 of them apart if you're referring to my Kane 1 list. It's a lot of gun mages. And yeah. I mean, what the thing is when you're running 60 gun mages, if I did that whole Butcher 2-tier thing, both Signar, not only do I have the option of doing it at range and pew, 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 I can always just run up and say, like, all right, there is 60 models that are defense 15. Deal with it. Oh, and while you're doing that, I'm just going to teleport over to this objective here and start scoring. Yeah, go on. Fight my guys. It'd be a pretty crazy list. Now, at the same time, I don't think I'd want to go and pick up that many gun mages, because what happens if all of a sudden Mark 3 drops, sorry, it's getting hiccups all of a sudden, and they get rid of that tier, right? And then it's like, well, I have 60 and I can only use 20 of them. It's kind of a waste. So right now, where are we at? We're at 40 minutes. I have done all the trim. So really now it's about going back and fixing all the little things that I missed. So say, for example, on his little arms here, his armor, he has little metal spikes coming out. Uh-oh, did I paint those metal last time or white? I made the metal. Messed that up. Well, at least I realized it before I painted it. But yeah, when we were on the drive back, I was actually suggesting to the Legion player that maybe he should be building Lilith 2 with more infantry. He's been really trying to avoid buying infantry, but maybe if instead of running 4 heavies, what if you just ran 2? What if you ran 2 Ravagors and then all the rest went to a lot more troops? Say like double Striders and Raptors and whatever else, Anissa Rival. And what you're really doing for yourself there is that, you are still threatening assassination, right? 4 Ravagor shots is still giving people sweats about being killed. However, now you're not being swarmed anymore, right? If somebody comes at you with my Haley 2 list, you can shoot down a lot of that at range, right? If you want to, first turn feet and clear off a lot of that stuff. Now, a lot of Lilith 2 players won't do that because, I'm only getting part of the feet. Instead of getting a snipe and a second shot, I'm only getting snipe. Well, that's all fair and good, but overall, you're still getting way more shots, and then you don't need to worry about being swarmed, like what's happening to both Ryan Langer and this other Legion player I'm talking about. So definitely a way to go. I know a lot of people don't want to go with the jam that I'm doing. They see what I do with Haley 2 with just dudes and dudes and dudes. They run up and engage, and either they feel that that's not their style, or it's cheap, or it's just too simple. They just don't want to do it. But really, it works well, and you can do it in other factions as well. And I'm not saying the Lilith 2 thing is then going to become a swarm, but having all those models will make it so that all of a sudden scenario is not a problem, and you have all those shots to get rid of these swarms coming in. All right, what's next? Little rocks. Let's do the little rock necklace. really hope I can get this done. 15 minutes now, I get this done. Hopefully you guys are painting some stuff up too. I know Buddy Langer isn't. Well, actually, he might be. I don't know if he wants to admit that on here, just in case his boss, just turns out his boss is also a fan. And, oh, you're painting while at work, eh? Would not go over well. I've had those jobs where I could paint at work. Luckily, I had a boss that understood. As long as your work is done, do whatever you want. So I got a lot of painting done at work. And of course, I'm doing this on, bringing all my models on with buses with all these, welders and stuff like that. And yeah, no respect. They definitely treated me like the nerd I am. See if there's anything else here. I probably should just be going to the other page. I actually have this video open in another page where I can check at the end if I haven't caught anything, but I'm kind of wanting to finish this model before tomorrow. So let's keep on pushing on that. Unfortunately, none of my guests that I invited to this one were able to join. Like I said, it was just completely random. I think I'm going to keep doing that too. Just every time I do one of these Paintisodes, I'll just randomly invite 3 people from my circles and just see who shows up. And it'll probably be like after 20 episodes, I'll finally have one person join. I'll be like, what the hell's going on? How'd you get here? But Buddy Langer saying no painting for tonight, maybe tomorrow. I don't know if he means that he'll be off tomorrow or whether tomorrow will be slower so he can bring it to work. But again, maybe he doesn't want to say on the off chance that his boss looks at this too. But there we go. Stone necklace is done. Now it's really, I've painted all the details of the model. I just need to go through and fix all the mistakes. Because while I was doing this, of course, you always have that where you get the flick of paint here and that flick of paint there. And once I'm done that, wash, and that's a done stalker. Unfortunately, this brown, which I critically need, is almost empty. But there should be enough just to do the little bits I need to. Like around the eyes. I really just blotched these on. There you go. One of the things I was preparing for today is getting people ready for the Masters event. I'll be running up a little whiles here. And one of the things I'm doing for the first time is before, I wouldn't ask for people to turn in their lists. Really, I'm a Canadian. I'm a trusting guy. And if it turns out that you are a cheater and somebody calls on you and it's correct, well, guess what? You're just going to be kicked out of the tournament. And so it's never been a big issue. I've never had anybody cheat that I know of, and it's never been an issue. Well, the one nice thing with War Machine that made me want to ask for a list this time is, first of all, I'm giving out pretty much cash prizes. So that makes it so I want things to be a little bit more serious. The other thing is that I want to be able to post up the lists, because when you're trying to do the list chicken for 3 lists, there's a lot of thought you have to put into it. And if you can see the list beforehand, it gives you that time to look at the list in order to get an idea that, okay, this matchup I'm okay. Okay, this one looks tough. What's my plan for this? So that instead of trying to do this in 2 minutes before the game, it gives you a little bit more time to digest it. At the other side of it too, it's also fun to get those lists up early, because then you can start getting the whole kind of like fun internet bidding going on, or betting rather. We're like, wow, I bet you this guy is going to win the tournament. No way, this guy's lists are better. I bet you this guy's going to win. And I'm not going to support gambling on the tournament or anything, but I could always put something up for fun, right? Like if I was to say post up all the matchups for the first round, go ahead, post up who do you think is going to win for each one of those rounds, and then whoever gets the most right gets a prize, right? I could always do something like that, and it gets people more engaged and more interested. So, however, in order to make that work, I need 100% of the list to get in. So people like Buddy Langer, who I don't have their list yet, they have to Saturday. It's not really a big thing yet. However, like I said, if I have one person who did not submit their lists, the whole thing falls apart, because if I was to post up the other lists, then that guy gets a huge benefit, because then he's at the point where he knows what everybody else is taking, and then he's making his list. So that's just not fair. So I just can't do that. If it gets to, end of day Saturday and I'm missing one person, guess what? I just can't do it. It's either that or I say, hey, that other guy's out of the tournament. And I don't want to do that, right? I don't want to kick people out just because they forgot to do a list, but it really kind of kills the whole thing. Now, part of this I did bring on myself, because normally I do say that people have to prepay for this stuff. And this time I didn't, just because I want to get 32. In the past, a lot of my events are around the 20-ish number, 24, and I want to get to that 32 for the true 5-round tournament. So I wanted to be as easy to sign up as possible, because sometimes that's the only reason why people don't sign up. They're like, oh man, I gotta pay before, nah, I'm just gonna wait, and then all of a sudden they forget. So hopefully by doing this, it will mean I end up with the 32. Now, I did have a lot of people drop because, of course, they throw their name down, then they decide they can't make it, but I had a waiting list, and right now I'm still at 32, so hopefully we stay at that. Buddy Langer says, thoughts on divide and conquer in tournaments, which is probably because I brought that up today. I feel that divide and conquer is both good and bad. The good thing about divide and conquer, and by the way, Buddy Langer saying he's not going to Masters because reasons, which is, there's reasons. Probably, let's go with the shift. He's on shift. But the good reasons for doing divide and conquer is it forces you to use all your lists. You can't just go to a tournament and use one super list all the way through, and it doesn't matter what your other lists are. And why that's important is because there's character restrictions. And if it's not divide and conquer, you just throw all your characters into your one super list, and you don't even care about the other list. So it really does force you to think out your lists, and you just can't make one super one to do them all. Now, the other thing is that when you're doing something like this, like Masters, where you're really wanting to show that you are the master of your faction, that you have mastered every aspect of it, well, you should really probably be forced to play more than one caster. So forcing you to at least use 3 casters over the course of the tournament really helps solidify that, okay, this guy has mastered his faction. Why is it bad? Well, it gets bad when you don't have enough rounds. When you are doing divide and conquer once, you have to use each of your lists once, and it's a 3-list event, and it's also a 3-game event. Well, what the hell? Basically, you're going to be locked into your last game. And you could argue that tactics are still involved because you do your first game and you take the one that you need there, and then you say, okay, who's still in it? Okay, you guys, all right, I might want to save this one for later. But really, it really gets to your last game, and it's a coin flip, right? Who am I locked into? Who are you locked into? Same thing, even if it's 4 games. You get to that where it's like, okay, it's game 3. Do I really want to take this list to win this game, or do I want to use this other one, which would make this game a lot harder, but then I'm not locked in for the last game? And I don't feel that's really showing mastery of the faction. So I really like it when it's like this one, we divide and conquer over 5 games. So there'll probably be that one point where, man, I am kind of locked in, but for the most part, it will be a lot more flexible. So basically, Larger size, like 5 games, divide and conquer, good. Short, like 3 to 4 games, no, don't do divide and conquer. So either way, I am now done my stalker, and I just got to do the wash. And that's awesome because I got 6 minutes, so I'm going to make it in time. You guys there, you can see I now have 7 viewers. If you want me to talk about anything else, please post it there. Sorry, it is late. Again, I mean, normally I'm going to try and do this at the same time, but I had other obligations. One of the things I could do is that I am on Google+, and if you guys were part of my circle and following me, I could post up, I'm doing Paintisode today, post your questions. And maybe that's what I'm going to try and do. So when I'm done this, I'm going to post up a link to my account on Google+. And, you know, if you're interested in that and you're like, man, I never get to ask my questions, follow me. And then I'll post up on the days where I'm going to do my Paintisodes, and you can just post your questions there. And then when it's time, you know, and that'll be also for the guys where, oh, you know, I want to watch your Paintisodes, but they're 3 in the morning here. Well, okay, that's no problem. Post up your questions, whatever you want me to talk about, because that could be it too, right? You might not have a question for me, but you just want me to talk about Menoth or whatever, right? Well, then post that up there. And that'll be a good way where I can interact with you guys and give you guys the content that you want to see. I mean, I can go and I can talk about Kane 2 for a full hour, but I'm pretty sure you guys aren't as crazy about Kane 2 as I am. So it'd be good if I knew what you guys are crazy about. Some of them are easy, like I know Buddy Langer is a Legion guy, but for the rest, I don't know what you guys play. I can only guess. Da-da-da. Oh, this wash and the magic it does. Just watered down black, and it does magic. Did I spend hours doing highlights? Hell no. I just slopped around some black, watered down black all over my model. Unfortunately for these circle models, because of the way that their armor is, you do have to kind of watch it a lot more after, because since they have those grooves where normally it's green inside, you can get that wash to really pool in there. And that's what it's supposed to do, right? It's supposed to pool into the details and make them darker. But if you don't watch it, in some of these areas, you can pool a whole bunch of it, and then it turns out to be black. And that's not exactly what you want. So that's what I'm really doing. And now it's all washed. I just need to find out where it's pooling, spread it around. So maybe some areas I feel could have done a little bit more on it. But so far, it's looking, there's a couple of spots where it is pooling for sure. So I'm glad I did this. It also looks like I didn't get the tail too good. That's, I can use that. I can fix it up. Let's see. Oh, here's something else. John Beatty saying, boo Google+. Well, you know, I can't make everybody happy. I could either do a Facebook account or I could be doing Google+. Because this is a Google Hangout, it automatically tells everyone on Google+ anyway. I'm not going to get into Twitch, or not Twitch, tweets. That's just not something I want to get into. So that's not going to happen. And I guess maybe later where I actually would have like lots of people following this, I might bother having multiple pages. But at this point here, it's just me and my my loyal few. So I don't know if I'd be doing too much there. But what else do I have? John Feeney is saying, how do you feel about your matchups against the other factions with your current casters, Haley and Siege? I mean, there's so many matchups up there that's it's hard to say, but clearly I designed them to cover almost everything. My biggest worries that I feel I'm not prepared for is I don't feel prepared against that Sorcia list. I don't feel prepared against Bradigus, and I think that's really it. I mean, clearly there'll be other lists that can really deal with me, but for the popular ones in the meta, and again, out of all the possible lists that there are, you do have to focus on what are people actually playing in your area. There's not too much else that I'm really seriously worried about. I mean, maybe it'd be like worst case 50-50, right? Death Corpse Commissar saying, I have 2 fully painted armies, Cricks in Circle. I find myself always painting Cricks because I'm better with them and win more. How do I inspire myself to play Orboros? Really, the biggest thing you need to do is just challenge yourself. It is good that you play Cricks and that you're good with Cricks, but the biggest thing there is that if you only play Cricks, you're going to eventually get a little bit stagnated. And another thing you'll get with playing Circle as well is that maybe right now when you play against Circle, there's a few matchups that you get caught by surprise. If you start playing Circle competitively, it'll actually make you a better Cricks player. So maybe be Cricks as your main faction, but then say on the side, I'm going to do Circle. And learn them. Learn how to be competitive with them so that when you go to the big events and take Cricks, you'll be ready to play them with your actual faction. I know that that's actually part of the reason I got into my Circle is because I just did not understand how all their tricks worked. And after I played them a bit, I started realizing, okay, that's how the stones work. This is how this works. And now it made me a better Signar player because I played Circle. So there you go. Whoopie Womp saying, still want me to join. Unfortunately, now we're at the hour, so I'll be stopping. Unfortunately, it'd been awesome if you could have come on, even like 20 minutes ago. But like I said, I just randomly threw out that invite. So sorry, Whoopie Womp. Maybe I should give you more of a heads up. I know we are going to be doing another show next week. It is. So I guess we'll catch you there. And either way, I'd love to hear what you guys were painting. And we'll catch you next time. Bye.